Yo, it's Friday. And what does that mean, Jeremy?
We're gonna talk about some X-Files.
Yeah, eXhuming the X-Files here on Outpost Unknown, the show where we are going through episode by episode the entire series of the X-Files, rewatching it with fresh eyes, older eyes. Do we still like it? Do we hate it? Follow along. Go start episode 1, way back in season 1. We're up to episode 90 or something of the show. It's pretty crazy. But this week, last week we were like, oh wow, Caddish was actually really good. It was one of those that we were both kind of psyched by. And we were like, hey, episode 16, can't wait to see what this one's all about. Unrequited, directed by Michael Lang, also written by Howard Gordon, the same fellow who wrote Caddish. Now, I will say, I did not remember this episode as I was a kid or anything like that. But when I saw what the topic of this was going to be, I was a little worried because I feel, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like the episodes that we have watched in the past that deal specifically with military stuff, and I'm not talking like military UFO stuff, but just like military vengeance, soldiers taking revenge on their superiors and stuff, haven't been the greatest. Is that your recollection of some of the stuff we've seen in the past?
Yeah. Or you remember what was that old poor staff sergeant that got did in the pool at the very beginning by invisible ghosts?
Yeah.
Limbless. That episode was so ass.
Yeah. So we have another one. It seems like every season there's at least one where we got to get the military and someone's taking revenge on the military. That is Unrequited. Did you have any recollection of this one?
No, I don't remember this episode at all.
All right. Well, let's recall it together.
Well, it starts at some sort of remembrance honor rally at the Vietnam War Memorial. And you have this old grizzled general guy up at the front talking about, they would have you believe that nobody would remember. Like, it was weird in that this angry general would have given this speech way back when everybody was out on the streets in America saying, "Bring our boys home." It was really out of place in 1995 or 96, wherever in the timeline, because people weren't doing that.
Yeah.
But it was happening anyway. In the meantime, the FBI, headed by, or there's an FBI operation that's acting like the Secret Service, and they're protecting this general guy from somebody that's in the audience. They have a picture of him. They actually find him. They start tracking him down. Skinner is just freaking out on the mic constantly, micromanaging this whole thing. Like, somebody has to have him. If you don't have him, 3, do you got him? Go,
4, come on, pay attention, find him. It's like, Skinner, calm the fuck down. You're just causing anxiety and panic. Everybody else is very calm about it except Skinner.
Eventually, Mulder gets all the way up to the stage. Between the stage and the general, he sees the guy. The guy pulls a gun and then vanishes right in front of Mulder's eyes.
Yeah.
And Mulder's like, I don't got him. And then title screen.
Yeah. One thing I made a note of this that was funny about this whole opening sequence is, David Duchovny, tall dude. The other third agent, whatever that's going around, tall dude. It's a sea of people. Gillian Anderson is like 5'2". She is trying. They're getting upset because she can't spot this guy that's like going in this crowd of people. I'm like, she's got her heels on. She can barely look over, get to the waist of all the people around her. I thought that was kind of funny. They expected so much that this tiny, tiny, short woman would be able to see through all of this crowd of people. I liked the disappearing thing. It got me interested. What did you think about the disappearing man in front of Mulder?
Well, I definitely wanted to see more. Was it the best opening on an X-Files episode ever? No, but it was one of those good ones that are like, well, what the hell is going to happen next?
Yeah. I always love, one of my favorite Universal monsters is the Invisible Man. I love the original. I love the remake of the Invisible Man that came out a few years ago. It's fantastic, and I always love the idea like, what do you do if there's like hollow man, an invisible man going around like murdering people? So I was hooked on this from the opening jump.
So we have basically the equivalent of Marine One landing. The general gets out and gets in a limousine, which this does not happen. I'm
Well,
sorry.
it might happen now.
Oh, well, yeah, no shit. Back in that day, there'd be a minivan where he'd be riding in the back that would have like this little carpet in the window that has like however many stars the general is in it to let you know, as you're a soldier, it was driving by on its way to headquarters. Like, yeah, they have a driver, and yeah, you have to salute that vehicle as you go by, but it doesn't look like, you know, you're a South American uh, warlord vehicle that they put him in. Um, he hanging out there. He starts looking at like a file or something, and then this playing card falls out. I believe it was the King of Diamonds, and on the back side of it, it looks like a bad Vietnam era unit tattoo.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, the dude from the title screen that had vanished appears in his back seat with a fucking 1911 45 at point blank range. That would have made such a mess in the back. You not not Reservoir Dogs. What was the other one where the kid got shot in the head and or in the back seat?
Pulp Fiction.
Pulp Fiction. What happened to that kid in the back with that 45 at that range? That's what would have happened to the general's head with that gun. That is a big bullet at a very, very close proximity. But it's just this little tiny head.
Well, I was actually more shocked that the general or whoever, when he sees that guy just suddenly in the back seat, he has like no real reaction to it all. He's just like, "How'd you get in here?" Like, I'd be fucking shitting myself if I was alone in the back and suddenly I look and someone's just standing there with a gun pointed at me. That general had like no reaction. It must happen to him all the time. What is this, Wednesday? Another person just appears in the back of my limo pointing a gun
Did you
at me?
schedule this with my secretary? So he dies. The driver freaks out, pulls over to the side of the road, immediately gets arrested because apparently the driver, soldier, whatever, airman, whatever branch he was with, had some vague ties to some right wing uh, survivalist group of
Yeah.
military guys in the U.S., like almost like the Branch Davidians, but nowhere near as serious, called the White Hand, I think. So they arrest him, but they can't figure out, you know, we can't find the gun. We know the driver didn't kill him, but he's in cahoots with whoever the killer is. That's just what it has to be.
And we
And
as
I
an
don't
audience
understand.
know that's not true because we see the driver freak the fuck out.
What I don't understand is why is the FBI involved at this point? Because this is like military MPs would have been called in. The uniform of the UCMJ. There's a whole different thing that so there's a whole different police force and a whole different set of laws that, you know, the military has to abide by, and that's who the investigating body is. They wouldn't go to the FBI for this shit.
Well, maybe it was the FBI's limousine.
Eh.
So they think they got jurisdiction. I don't know, man.
Uh,
None of these questions matter in the X Files. The FBI investigates everything.
you're right. You're right. So what is it? Skinner has this powwow meeting because he's the head of, like, it's an anti-terrorist task force that he's been put up against. So apparently this is a terrorism thing, and that's why the
Oh.
FBI gets to play.
Well, wait a minute. Now that I'm thinking about this, they do answer your question later on because Mulder is like, "Why the hell do you think you were put on this?" And they had all of us on here to make us look stupid, and because they knew that
Oh, yeah.
Remember, because there's a whole sequence when Mulder figures out because he confronts Skinner. He's like, why were you put in charge of this, FBI? Like, we shouldn't be doing any of this. So that is addressed. That is addressed.
But at this point in the episode, when I wrote the note, I was still kind of like, "What the fuck?"
Right. It doesn't make any sense at this point.
They go out to the leader of the White Hand, and it's funny because they just walk up to the front gate of this fortified Branch Davidian compound, and it's just Mulder and Scully. And I'm like, if they try to serve a warrant here, normally they have to bring like tanks and a bunch of people to like burn little kids alive like they did in Waco. Like it's a whole operation. So they're not just gonna send them in, but he just buzzes them in. They walk inside the fence, and then he lets three Rottweilers out of his house to just run them down. God, that was funny.
The scene, like their Mulder and Scully are just running for their lives from these dogs, made me laugh.
That was a fucked up thing to do, but it was pretty funny.
And he just walks out all nonchalantly afterwards.
And they ask him, what do you really want? What's going on? And he doesn't really want to cooperate, as is, tradition for those type of people, until they show him the playing card thing. And he immediately just says, oh, well, in that case, there's a lot more people that are going to die.
Yeah.
But they arrest him because they assume that he is, tied into this somehow. So he's like a ringleader, whatever he's a part of it some way. And then they just don't talk to him for like the next 20 minutes in the episode, which I felt was really, really, really weird. But yeah, what is it? They talk to him briefly. He says the picture of the guy in the long hair was a murder, says he was a Green Beret, says he was a POW that they just rescued, like his White Hand group just rescued in 1995. And while he was being brought back to America, like he just vanishes.
Yeah.
And it's all great information. Like it's very detailed stuff. The guy isn't like, being cagey about it. He's just laying it all out there. And Scully just immediately dismisses all of it out of hand. Like pulls a Mulder at this moment. It's like, no, it's got to be this other thing, because whatever he's just saying is just shit.
Yeah.
Oh god, that was funny. It's then we get to this part where this lady is standing at the Vietnam War memorial, like crying about somebody there, and she looks way too like she looks young enough to be maybe a daughter of somebody that was on that wall. And then the murderer dude like appears, Predator style, and like hands her a dog tag and says, "Your husband's still alive," and then vanishes again.
I like the scene. I
hated it.
You hated it? Okay, I liked it. I'll tell you why I liked it. I thought it was kind of cool that because all we know about this guy so far is he's just popping up and he's murdering people left and right, and so he pops up here. But the fact that we know that he's just recently been, found, discovered, or whatever, that he's telling this lady, like, look, your husband's not actually dead. He's still a prisoner of war over there, and here's the dog tags to prove it, and don't give up hope. And then just disappears again, up and vanishes like a fart in the wind. I just thought that was kind of a cool scene, because it's like, okay, this guy isn't like some just murderous monster. Like, he's got a motivation, and he's actually trying to do something at least nice to be like, look, there's other soldiers that are still stuck over there. And he's going to take his revenge for it. But why did you hate it?
All of that, I agree with everything you just said there. All of that was good. I liked all of that. It's just the way that the scene ended, and maybe I just let this shit get to me too much. But the lady is standing there like, "Where did you go? What happened to you? You vanished." And then it goes into the next scene, and she's still like, "He just disappeared." I thought, oh god.
Okay, so you did not like how it kind of
It
The
was
over the
so
top of it, the over the top
stupid.
nature of it. Okay, I got you.
And then we get they for some reason Scully noticed that the thinnest of threads, like Scully notices that this lady has bust a capillary in her eyes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, man, I've got capillaries in my eyes right now that are busted just from watching 4 episodes of X Files back to back. Like,
And they don't bleed profusely down your cheeks.
no, um, but it's just why we needed an explanation as to why this guy was going invisible. And they weren't going to do that he was a part of some secret experiment. They weren't going to do that the Viet Cong had spent the last like 20 years running fucking weirdo experiments on him. Like they had to make it so that he had some weird ability to make the blind spot in your eye basically just take over the whole eyeball.
Yeah.
It was that was stupid.
I liked it. I did. I liked it. I thought I was like, that's actually kind of a unique way to sort of explain something because like you said, the generic, most stereotypical thing to do is like, okay, experiments were run on him by some sort of government, and now he's got invisibility powers and he can do X, Y, and Z. But it's like, no, this guy doesn't have any powers at all. He just has developed or has been taught. I think Mulder at one point just floats the idea. Well, he's over there for like 20 years. Oh yeah, he tells Skinner. He's like, Skinner, you were in Vietnam, and all the stories about how like the Viet Cong would just vanish in front of you. And he's like, maybe he learned the voodoo trick over there or something. And I was like, I kind of like it because later on they can only see him out of the corner of their eyes, which I just like that.
He has the ultimate introvert power, the way to never get noticed at work doing anything. Instead of walking around with a fistful of papers looking like he's busy, he just remains invisible to everybody. Okay.
I
They
like it.
warned. I'm going to say straight up, I like this episode a lot. I like this episode more than I like the last episode, and I like the last
Okay,
episode quite
okay.
a bit. But the thinness of why he was invisible. All right. So they warn the next general, who's on his way to the Pentagon. He doesn't really want to take it seriously, but he's going to the Pentagon, like one of the most secure locations in the entire United States. Why would they put an FBI detail on him? Like FBI doesn't have the clearance, probably, to just get back to where this general's office is, like anywhere. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, in the universe of the X-Files, the FBI has access to anything and everything, unless the cigarette smoking man has something locked up behind a door that Mulder can't get into.
Okay.
The FBI, in the hierarchy of importance in the X-Files universe, the FBI is far higher than just the military, in my mind. There's a military component that's probably above the FBI that's run by the shadow government, all of those dudes. But your typical just run of the mill military stuff, generals, they're not important in X Files universe.
the guys at the Pentagon, it's just a building.
It is. I mean, come on.
They could do that job, work from home.
Exactly. that 4-star general, whatever, could just be laying in his bed on Teams or some shit.
Yeah.
Giving orders.
Got his camera shut off. Like, fuck it. So they put an FBI detail on him. What's wild? They escort the general in. They make it through like the metal detectors and just walk straight to his office. They make it a point to show that the murderer guy is making himself invisible to people there, but he just walks after, like a good probably 60 seconds behind them. at least through the metal detector. Undetected, except for it goes beep because he does have a gun.
Yeah.
He somehow beats the general to his office. He puts a playing card on his desk. He goes invisible and just kind of hangs out in the corner. He waits till the FBI guys leave the office, and then as soon as the general sees the card, he uninvises himself, just guns him
Yeah.
down. While this is happening, if I remember, let me look at my notes real quick. Yeah, Mulder calls him to tell him he's worried. No, he calls Mulder to tell him he's worried about the playing card.
Yeah.
He gets shot while on the phone with Mulder, and Mulder like they don't even do a transition shot where Mulder does any traveling whatsoever. Mulder just teleports to
Yeah.
the Pentagon office because he's just there.
He's yelling at him on the phone. He's like, "Get out of there! Get out of there right now! Or call your guards. Have them come in." Well, there you go, Jeremy. The FBI detail wasn't there because I think Mulder says, "Tell your soldiers to come into the room." I don't think he says, "Let the FBI agents into your room."
Well, if there's one thing I learned about these specific 4 episodes that we've watched, is that when the FBI is in charge of keeping somebody alive, they do a shit-tastic job at it.
They fail.
And it doesn't matter who's coming to kill them. Like, any jackhole just show up with a gun. Any jackhole. So, oh god, where do I fucking?
They're the Federal Bureau of Investigation, not the Federal Bureau of Protection, Jeremy.
They find the next guy because they figure out that there is a pattern that all these different generals as far as who's getting targeted, they know who the next general is going to be, but that general has to be in this parade. And so they cut the scene to there's all of these Humvees underneath an underpass, and there's this military band just marching in place for an uncomfortably long amount of time.
Don't forget, Mulder has to go talk to his, replacement ex contact.
Oh yeah,
to find out what's actually going on.
Yeah, Mulder meets the blonde that never tells him anything. She doesn't really tell him anything other than the present government might want these generals dead. That's it.
Yep.
I wrote down that military parades must be really expensive to shoot because this whole scene was filmed under or next to an underpass, underneath an underpass. And when it actually does move, it moves an entire 10 feet to the very edge of the underpass before they go in there like, "General, sir, you got to come with us." They're like, "I've got to make a speech or something about that." And then they kind of do this grassy knoll looking thing.
Yeah.
I think that they just really didn't have a great location to shoot at. So they're just like, well, let's make this reminiscent of when Kennedy got shot. At least we can do something. They see the assassin briefly, but they're able to rescue the general anyway.
Well, Scully sees him first, right? Because she freaks out and she pulls her gun out again. And he's on that grassy knoll. And then, was it Skinner's with her? He's like, "Are you sure?" She's like, "I saw him. I saw him."
But then the very next scene when Mulder was like, "You saw him?" She's like, I don't
Yeah,
know.
I don't know what I saw.
And he calls her out. It's like, you don't draw your piece unless... Yeah. And it wasn't even a chiding thing. It was just confidently saying, I know you. You would not pull your gun unless you saw some shit.
Yep.
But they tell him, you can't go out to this rally at the Vietnam Memorial. And the general is just like, it's your guys' job to protect me. If you don't get this guy, I'm just going to get shot. So do your fucking jobs.
And Federal Bureau of Protection, I guess.
I've changed at this point in my notes. I've changed the name of the assassin to Handsome Robert Englund because I finally get a close up of the face. It's like, yeah, you look like a hot, Freddy without the scarring.
Okay.
It cuts back kind of the very beginnings of the pre-title screen. Handsome Robert England is making his way through the crowd. Some soldier who apparently was in his unit, like, and hasn't seen him since he left, is like, "What? Hey, handsome Robert England!" He starts yelling at him, and he walks away from him. And eventually, like, the former soldier buddy, what battle buddy, whatever the fuck he was, tracks him down, but he's invisible at that point. He's like, "Man, I could have sworn I saw a tiger." And then he appears and he hands him like a list of other POWs that are still alive and vanishes again. Vanishes back into the crowd. So it cuts to the pre-title screen. Everything happening exactly the same as it was before. Scully is tracking him. Scully loses him. Everybody else loses him. All of a sudden, and I wrote in here, it sucks that even in this sci-fi show, they have to use the trope that the guy has to uncloak to fire his gun.
Yeah,
Like, why do
like a
the
Klingon
Romulans?
bird of prey.
Yeah, but it's everywhere. Like every sci-fi game that has cloaking in it, you can't shoot while invisible. You have to come out of invisibility first. So I thought that was kind of weak. But right as Mulder sees him, he vanishes, and then somehow immediately Scully finds him at the front of the crowd. They've evacuated the general, or are in the process of it. Scully just knows that, okay, yeah, you just saw this guy 10 feet in front of you, 20 feet in front of you like 2 seconds ago, but he's gone already. Okay. So they start making their way over towards the escape limo for the general. And I think it's Mulder knows that it's like, no, General, you can't go in there because the killer is in there.
Yeah.
And then all of a
Because
sudden,
Mulder figures out that it's like the line of sight. You can only see him out of like the corner of your eye or something. And he's like, he'll be in there. He'll be ready to kill.
and as soon as he says it, like, bullets start flying out of the door. It is really bad last stand because he's just surrounded by dudes with guns. He gets into the driver's seat. He starts like trying to speed off in a limousine. Skinner just gacks him. Like, what a crack shot
Yeah.
that dude is. And he gets out. He falls out of the vehicle. He's bleeding. And it's another one of these, like the last episode. It gets me right at the end. I was on board for most of this stuff, but when he falls out, there's something that you need to know. I don't know if you are aware of this or not, but they teach you in military or throughout military training that if you're ever captured and interrogated, you're allowed to say your name, your rank, your unit, your social security number, and that's it. And just repeat it over and over and over again. And they make you do that. They make you repeat that script over and over and over again until you have it memorized while you're in the military. He falls out of his vehicle and he reverts back to that. I mean, he's been a POW since we left Vietnam. He's been, God knows what has happened to that guy. And he's just still in that headspace. And that's why I really liked it at the end, was because, okay, that's somebody did their research on that particular piece of it as well. And so, cut from there to the military or the U.S. government and / the military is trying to pretend that this dude, this POW, wasn't a POW. He was just some other crazy that's been stateside for a very long time. Mulder is really pissed off about it and actually kind of gets in Skinner's ass about it.
Yeah, because Skinner's like, gotta let it go, buddy. Gotta
And
let
he's
it
like,
go.
no, you were there. You understand this more than anybody else that's been a part of this. You can't be a part of covering this up and not be complicit in every awful thing that led up to this point. And that's kind of how the episode ends.
Yeah. Then it slow zooms in on Skinner's forlorn face, which I did not like. The push zoom in on Skinner's face is a little goofy for me, but
It wasn't bad in
overall.
480p.
So you liked it. Tell me why you like this episode.
Growing up in the 80s and 90s and being in the running in the circles that friends of my mom's, she had we have a lot of Vietnam vets that I grew up with, and I grew up hearing a lot of stories about Hanoi Jane, about but almost all of them, and this is kind of a dying art, had this little shield sticker on their motorcycle, on their van, in their windows. It's a black shield, and it has the side profile almost like a coin head, a head on a coin, like a dime or something. Side profile, and it says POW MIA. You will not be forgotten. And what it is just honoring POWs that in real life we left behind, and or the U.S. government just declared them dead, and we never made any effort to go after and get them out of the situations that they're in. And they probably all died eventually. But I grew up in that culture. I grew up, remembering that we left a bunch of guys over there, that it fucked up a lot of people in Vietnam. And this episode, from top to bottom, was honoring that, shining a light on that little bit of ugliness that was a part of the U.S. government's past, and doing so not in a ham-fisted, weirdo sort of way. I really like this episode because of the care that they took in those particular aspects.
Yeah, I agree. I really like this episode, and I didn't think I was going to when I was like, oh gosh, we're doing the military vengeance thing again. But I agree. I think this was handled really really well. That's why I really like that scene of why that scene at the memorial with the when he comes back to give the dog tags to that lady and say, hey, your husband's still alive. I thought that scene was so important to the overall thing, to just not make this guy out to be just some sort of evil, kind of like a specter of death who's just coming back to take revenge on all the stuff, but to really be like, no, like the government fucked us over and fucked over a lot of people, and guess what? They're still there. And who knows? There could still be people alive from that time that are over there. I'm sure there are still POWs from various wars and stuff that we've been involved in that might still be around. But even if there aren't, the fact that our government didn't even try to do anything and just kind of like swept it under the rug and let it go, it just kind of it sucks, and so I thought this episode handled that kind of subject matter way better than like the guy who's like the quadriplegic who was psychically like drowning his generals and stuff for all of that stuff for whatever reason. And I think the whoever the actor was who played the
Handsome
dude,
Robert England.
yeah, Hanson, right, he did a really good job.
Yeah,
Like I thought he was like really really good in the role. And this could have easily been fumbled in terms of if they would have cast it poorly or just didn't take the care with the script that it deserved, and we're just kind of like making it like all the other military vengeance episodes we've seen in the past. I think it could have really fallen flat on its face. But yeah, I really really liked it, and I didn't think I was going to when I started. So yeah, Unrequited. We both give this one a thumbs up. So definitely check it out. So we're on a upward trajectory right now
two
on
decent
season 4.
episodes in a row. Hell yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, fun facts about this one. During the show's fourth season, episode co writer Howard Gordon was slated to pen only one episode, the 19th entry, Synchrony. However, after hearing rumors about American CIA agents left behind during the Vietnam War, he started to develop what would become the story for Unrequited. The day before the show's 1996 Christmas break, Howard approached series creator Chris Carter and co executive producer Frank Spotnitz and told them about his new episode idea. The project was greenlit, but Howard struggled with breaking the story, necessitating Carter heavily assisting him. So Chris Carter, we give him a lot of shit, but he had a hand in this story and whatnot. So
Yeah, probably the invisibility shit.
I like the invisibility shit, Jeremy. Gordon had long been interested in writing an antagonist who could turn invisible, but he struggled with finding a scientific mechanism to explain this plot point. Eventually, Gordon discussed the struggle with his ophthalmologist brother, who told him about blind spots in the human eye. Gordon noted, quote, "These stories come from scientific research, so I said, what if someone could actually create a field of vision where none actually exists," unquote. Gordon decided to make the antagonist a Vietnam War veteran because, quote, "they are getting old and, like the Holocaust survivor in Kaddish, starting to die," unquote. The storyline also allowed Gordon the chance to give Vietnam veteran Walter Skinner a larger role, a chance that Gordon relished. So there you go, folks. Unrequited. There hasn't been a lot of really great episodes of X-Files this season. I don't think I'd put this on a level of like an all-timer X-Files episode, but in the context of what we've been watching this season, this is very good. This is definitely in the top 5 so far. So yeah, hit that like and subscribe. We'll be back next Friday. We're going to talk about Tempest Fugit, the first of a 2-parter. And Jeremy, who's coming back for that episode? What
Max is coming back.
Max.
Yeah, the nightcap dude.
Max is back, baby.
Yeah, baby.
Hit that like and subscribe, and we'll see you next Friday here on eXhuming the X-Files. Adios.